Hello everyone, good afternoon. In this video today, I am going to take you through my, I would say top 10 books, but I think the best way to describe it is either kind of more memorable books or books that I just kind of can't stop thinking about or always stick with me. Um, for most of these books, I probably couldn't tell you exactly what happens or the plot or the craziest endings or anything like that, but there's just something about the book specifically, even if it's really small, that just sticks with me. And I still just think about them and I think about rereading them. And yeah, so I'll go through and I'll try and give a brief summary of the book if I can remember what happens, because it's been a long time since I've read some of these, and I think it would be good for you guys to also see some books that I haven't actually really shown on this channel either much or like at all. So yeah, we'll jump into it. I think I have about 10 or 11 here to talk about. So number one is The Loved Ones by Evelyn. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I feel like I'll butcher it. This is basically about a man who is a pet mortician, and I actually was discussing to someone how with someone, sorry, how I was a mortician for a couple months, and they suggested that I read this book, and I was a little bit hesitant to pick it up for a little bit, but then I thought, I might as well try it. I'll have a go. And it was really interesting. There was a tiny kind of subplot of romance, I would say, but you kind of get to dive into the world of working in a funeral home, working as a pet mortician, and yeah, the story kind of takes off from there. So, I mean, I would recommend it. I mean, if you're not into this stuff, then don't read it, but it is interesting to say the least. And I think there is like a bit of a plot twist or a bit of a crazy ending. I just can't quite remember. But yeah, the thing that just stood out to me was the fact that he's a pet mortician. And, since I had kind of experience in a similar field, it was interesting to read about. Next is so number two, The Woman in the Green Dress by T. Cooper. I haven't really heard about this author much online, but the main thing that stood out to me is that this book is set in Australia, in New South Wales, and I live in Australia, so I was already drawn to it automatically. And you've got a past and present timeline, which I love in these books. But technically, the past is 1853 at Mungo Creek, New South Wales, and the present is supposed to be 1919 in Sydney, New South Wales. So, not quite our present, but present for the person, for the main character in the book. Um, I can't exactly remember what happens in this book, but I think there is someone who's is it a taxidermist or something? So I found that interesting. I think that's what kind of stuck with me a little bit with this book too. I just had to read the back of this quickly, just to jog my memory about what happened. So basically, our main character, Della, in 1853, is doesn't want to return to Sydney. I think her parents aren't there anymore, but she comes across a man called Captain Stefan von Richer, who's basically on a retreat, like opals and stuff in the area. And then she goes to stay with her aunt, and her aunt works at this kind of curiosity shop and starts to sell things that just aren't quite normal. And Della kind of gets thrown into this kind of mystery or this um what's the word? I guess bad events that just have really bad consequences. And so you kind of follow her story. So then back in the present, in 1919, you're following Fleur, who works at a London tea shop, and I think she discovers these kind of curiosities and this collection a little bit, and basically dived into it from there, because I think she wonders why they were selling certain things back in that time period. So yeah, it's got I just don't know how to describe it. It's been so long. This is really bad. I'm not convincing enough, but honestly, I really liked that book. And anyway, we're gonna move on because otherwise I'll be here all day trying to rack my brain about what happened. Number three, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I read this book 3 times. Everyone knows what it's about, so I won't even go into it, but would recommend this. It's stuck in my brain for so long because I read it so many times, and there's just so many iconic quotes and just scenes in this book and in the movies. It's so good. It would recommend, honestly. But if you've never heard of it, it's basically two cancer patients who end up meeting and they form a bit of a romantic connection, and you're kind of following their story. So it is quite sweet, and there is a very sad ending. We'll give you a quick warning. Um, I cried like almost every time I read this book because it's so sad. It's so sad, but it's so good and it's so memorable. Like if you read this, you will not forget it. Number four, Pavana's. I think it's supposed to be Pavana. So this is actually this is like the fourth book I think in this series. Hold on, let me go get the actual book. So I'll just show you all of them because this is Pavana, Pavana's Journey, Mud City, and Pavana's Promise. All of these books are part of the same series, obviously, but it's about an Afghanistan girl called Pavana who basically, so her father works at the markets, and then there's the mum who stays at home and cooks and cleans and does the domestics and looks after the children and all that. And the rule is you kind of, if you're a woman, you can't leave the house without a man escorting you. Long story short, she ends up turning herself into a boy and dressing like a boy. She cuts her hair, does everything like that, and basically has to help run the family because her dad gets taken away by the Taliban. So it's really interesting. Like I read the first book in high school and I remembered it so many years later, and then I really, really wanted to read the rest of them and just reread this book in general. And then I found out that obviously there was a series, so I got them all. But yeah, it's just so memorable. Like I still remember reading this book and just it's just crazy. And basically, through like the whole four books, she just goes on this journey through Afghanistan and meets new people, and it's definitely eye opening and definitely one of those reads that you probably will never forget because I will never forget reading these. I want to reread them again because they were so good, and just the way that Deborah Ellis describes um like the atmosphere and the environment and the characters and just life as a woman in Afghanistan and how the Taliban run everything. And yeah, it was eye opening, it was crazy, and it was so good. And I would honestly recommend like all four books, but if you really are unsure about it, just read the first one, and I can guarantee you'll probably want to read the next one. So 100% recommend just that whole series, honestly. And then The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I will honestly never forget this book. I always remember it. Like it always just I'll just be doing something. I just remember, oh my god, that was I watched the movie and I read the book. And I just think about it sometimes. Like it's crazy. The main character Rachel basically takes the same train route every single day, and every single day she passes a house and this certain couple and thinks that their life is perfect, and I think kind of either wishes she had that or wishes she was involved somehow. And something happens one day, she goes past and it's just the husband that's outside, and she notices a few more times it's just the husband, the wife's not there anymore. So she kind of wonders what happens, and then she basically chucks herself in the middle of this mystery about what happened to the wife, and you go on this crazy journey with her. And yeah, just yeah, it was honestly so good, so good. The writing's so good, and I would 100% recommend this book. It's just stuck with me for so long, and like I recommend it to people, and I've talked to other people about it, and I even if they haven't read it, I'm like you should definitely read it or at least watch the movie because yeah, it's just so eerie. I think it's like a psychological thriller as well, so it's just really like you're on edge the whole time and you're kind of wondering what's going to happen and what she's going to do next because her actions just become so unhinged by the end of the book. It's crazy. Then next, Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton. This is good. I think the main thing that stands out is it is set in Australia, in Brisbane. Um, there's, I think, kind of a gang or just something to do with gangs and drugs and what is it? Drug dealers, basically. The mum is considered a junkie because she is. um, and I don't think the dad's in Eli's life. I think the Eli Bell is the name of the main character that you're following. I can't quite remember how old he is, but basically because his mum is, um, you know, is someone that is addicted to drugs and everything. It is a bit of a difficult life for him, so he kind of ends up going on his own adventure. He gets kind of put in the middle of these drug dealers, and just the rivalry and stuff that happens with that. And then he goes and rescues his grandfather because he gets kind of caught up in a situation. And yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like, there's still little bits and pieces I remember from this book, but not a lot because it's been a long time since I've read this book. Like, I've read so many books, since reading this, so it's been a lot. But I mean, it's pretty well known, and if you haven't read it yet, I would definitely recommend reading it. Then next, I think there's Dream House by Marzia. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Um, this I think this is almost like a psychological thriller as well. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of eerie. The main character, Amethyst, just trying to remember a little bit from the blurb. She basically goes to stay in this home. It's like a pretty big house. It's huge. And next day she wakes up and she's basically by herself and she doesn't know what happened. And she kind of just starts getting all these really creepy, eerie things happening to her. And she's kind of just wondering if it's like the house, if she's going crazy, like if there's like a little bit of a mystery going on. And so she kind of just tries to figure out the truth of this house and the history of it and what happened and why it is the way it is. So it's really interesting, and I always think about coming back to it and reading again because it is pretty short too, but it's good. I mean, like I said, I can't always remember everything in these books, but I do remember just them being so good, and I just always think about them. So it's good. Now this one, you probably won't be able to recognize the cover because I covered it with like laminate stuff because my cover got completely ruined. But this is Billy Summers by Stephen King, and I've got it written on the side there because it got destroyed. Anyway, Billy Summers, I will always remember this book. It was so good. Basically, Billy is on his last kind of mission, his last job. You can hire him as a hitman. That's the word I'm looking for, to, kill someone that you want gone. So he does that. He's had a lot of training. I think he was in the military, or he fought in the war. I think something along those lines. He's one of the best snipers in the world, an Iraq war veteran who can blend into any neighborhood and vanish after the shot is taken, but he'll only agree to the contract if the target is truly a bad guy. So he wants out of this, and this is his final job. And of course, because it's his final job, everything that could go wrong goes wrong. And you're just following Billy as he goes through the motions to try and fix everything that's happened and that's gone wrong. And it's so good. And I cried because there is a very sad bit at the end, and it just gets me every time. I just want to read it again because it was so goddamn good. So I would recommend. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. This, oh my god, I still remember this. Like, I still remember the plot twist. I still remember how crazy everything was in this book. You're following a character as they go, I think it's a past and present timeline. So you get the summer of 1862. A group of young artists led by the passionate and talented Edward Radcliffe descend upon Birchwood Manor on the banks of the Upper Thames. Their plan to spend a secluded summer month in a haze of inspiration and creativity. By the time their stay is over, one woman has been shot dead while another has disappeared. The priceless heirloom is missing and Edward Radcliffe's life is in ruins. English is hard. Then, 150 years later, Elodie a young archivist uncovers a leather satchel containing two seemingly unrelated items and basically tries to figure out what happened and how this woman ended up being shot and why and the history of everything. So, yes, another past and present timeline. Honestly, I would just recommend reading any Kate Morton book. She's so good. I love her books. I'm reading one at the moment, and they start off a bit slow for me. Both every book I've read by her so far has started off slow, but you pick up the pace picks up as you go through the story, and then you get hit with the craziest plot twist ever at the end of the book, and it is just so worth it to read just everything you've read just to get to that point in the book because it's so goddamn good, and you just don't expect it. And yeah, honestly, it's so good. I cannot like hype her up enough. I love her books, so I would just recommend reading them. And I will just always remember this book and how it ended, and it makes me want to read it again. So then I think this is number 10. So we've got one more after this, so 11 altogether. The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George. This, I still remember this. Okay, I want to read this again. Like every book in this pile, I want to read it again. But basically, um, is it Jean Perdu? Jean Perdu? I can't exactly pronounce this man's name, but the main character, I'll say Mr. Perdu, runs a bookshop basically on a boat in the scene, and so people go into the bookshop and they might ask for a book, but they end up talking to the bookstore owner, and he ends up giving them a book that they need, not what they like want or what they're like exactly asking for, but just something that he knows that they need, and they always just come back and have yeah, they had the best time reading it, or just something happens and it changes their perspective. But he just knows exactly what to give these people, and they just love it. But he is a little bit of a cranky old man, and gotta love that too. And basically, he can cure people, but just not himself. So he ends up kind of going on this little bit of a journey, I guess, a bit more self discovery. He's kind of looking back through his memories. Um, and there is an arrival of a new neighbor in his apartment building, and it kind of just inspires him to unlock a part of himself and just rediscover kind of who he used to be, and why he's kind of opened this bookshop in the first place and why he helps people. And it's a very kind of like heartfelt story. It's one of those like nice books you can read, and it starts off a bit funny because he's a grumpy old man, but it just turns into something um, like satisfying and really nice to read in the end. And so I will always 100% recommend this. Plus, I love France and Paris, and I eventually got to go there, which was an amazing opportunity. So it was just so cool to be able to read this book when I was younger and then just dream about going to Paris and then getting to go there too. So I think this is also why it sticks in my head a lot. But I think this is like one of my favorite books, like top 10 books of all time, honestly. So I would recommend that too. And the last one I recommend, and that just sticks with me. I read this probably a year ago, roughly, I think last year or the year before I read it. Um, and I remember a lot about this book. But basically, it is The Nurse's War by Victoria Perman. And if you're a nurse or like studying to become an AIN or like RN or just anyone who's kind of in the nursing industry or like looks after people, I would 100% recommend this book to you because it's basically about. So in 1915, World War One is going on over in Europe, and there's just a lot going on. The main character is Australian, so Cora. She's an Australian nurse. She gets sent over to England to basically help build a hospital over there, and then to look after the Aussie soldiers and even other soldiers that come into the hospital if they've been injured and just need care, or if something's just happened, they need to come to the hospital, basically. So she packs up her stuff, goes across the country, and you just get to go through the process with her and meet these soldiers with her, and there is a doctor there, so there's a little bit of a romance with that, and then you get another point of view. um I can't remember what her name is, Jessie. So she basically lives in the village in England, and her and her mother kind of stitch up like clothing, and I think they make clothing and stuff too, and they help a little bit with that in their village. And I think they either like make clothing for to like help them make money, or they repair clothing as well. So it's either one of them or it's both of them. But anyway, Jessie ends up going to the hospital at some point, and she basically offers her services and volunteers to help with these soldiers. So she kind of does almost what like an assistant in nursing would do. She kind of helps like wash them and dress them and make sure that they're okay, and kind of comes to their needs and just does kind of the basic tasks like that, and cleans, and does a little bit of everything. She ends up taking clothes home and gloves and stuff, and making things for the soldiers and fixing up anything that's got holes in it, and just she's helping everyone out basically. So you get her point of view, and you get another kind of romance between her and another man that's in this story too. And I don't remember, there might be another perspective, but it might just be Cora and Jesse, and their lives kind of become intertwined as well. So it's really nice to have these two female main characters who don't know each other at all, who kind of come together and connect over everything that's happening too. And it is sad. I did cry in this book, and I just, oh, it was a bit heartbreaking, I'm not gonna lie, but it's so good. Like, honestly, if you're gonna take anything from this video, the Little Paris Bookshop, 100%. The Nurse's War, 100%. Like these two are like top 10 books for me. Upside down. Like they're up there with those books. Anything Kate Morton would recommend. I've read The Clockmaker's Daughter, The Forgotten Garden, The Secret Keeper, and now I'm reading The Distant Hours, and they're just all so good. I haven't had a bad experience with her books at all. And yeah, I mean, I think that's it. That's all of them. That's my kind of top 10, top 11 list of kind of memorable books that I just can't stop thinking about. Kind of some of the books are in my top 10 reads of all time, just kind of a mix of a few of them. So I hope you like this video. It was a little bit different. And yeah, let me know down below, and I can make some more like this. I could even try and make like a top 10 books like that I like of all time, and see if I can put a list together for that, because I do definitely have a few in mind. But yes, all the books I can't stop thinking about and would 100% recommend you read. And until the next video, bye.